Crazy, man. I feel like, once you have 7 different fighters that come up positive in your camp, for performance enhancing drugs, I think somebody should take a look at that camp like, hey, what are they doing in there? You know what I mean? But nobody wants to ask questions. Nobody wants to say nothing. So it's not even
confident in himself. I don't know why he wouldn't fight me, especially since, seeing that everybody in his team is on steroids, which means including him. So he never got off
You think
steroids.
he's on steroids?
Of course. Of course.
Sure.
How does five?
You saw De La Hoya
How do five people out of your camp get tested positive for steroids?
David Benavidez wants a full investigation into Canelo Alvarez drug scandal to happen before any fight between Canelo and anyone else. He uses a long list of past steroid violations to back up his claim that Canelo and his entire team are dishonest. Benavidez doesn't understand why boxing avoids clear signs of PED abuse while protecting its big moneymakers. He caused a stir by asking why a boxing camp that has had 7 positive PED tests has not been the topic of an official investigation. He says the fact that the governing bodies are doing nothing shows they are biased, protecting well-known fighters and teams while quickly condemning lesser-known athletes. Benavidez added that ignoring those 7 violations would be bad for the sport's image.
I feel like, once you have 7 different fighters that come up positive in your camp, for performance enhancing drugs, I think somebody should take a look at that camp like, hey, what are they doing in there? You know what I mean? But nobody wants to ask questions. Nobody wants to say nothing. So it's not even, I find that kind of really messed up, and it's really biased, because if it was our camp, we had 7 guys coming out positive for steroids, it'd be like, man, you guys need to take that guy's license away. You can't let him move around like that. And we would be suspended right away. But, the cash cow always wins. Some people like to stay quiet. Some people don't like to say nothing. But that's 7 guys. That's 7 different people. That's 7 different people. And that's just something that you cannot ignore.
Benavidez went on to say that all players should be drug tested all year long and criticized the usual reasons given after PED arrests. He believes this would take away the cover that many fighters use. He said performance-enhancing drugs take athletes out of their natural place and hurt the basic rules of boxing, which are discipline, hard work, and natural talent.
Everybody's going to say that, they don't know what happened. Or I think just Canelo needs to stop having barbecues at his house. That's what needs to stop happening.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue in the sport, and I think the only way to resolve it, right, is that everyone needs to be on 365 testing. Are you in support of that?
I'm support that. It's just crazy that, I didn't really know how big of the problem with steroids was, but people really be out here taking steroids. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, like that takes away from you as a man if you're trying to be as good as you can, and then you have to take another performance enhancing drug to get there. That kind of takes away from chasing the greatness. But I mean, that's just the way I think. I don't know how everybody else thinks. I don't cut corners. When it's time to train, I'm not scared of hard work. I'll work 3-4 months, and that's just how it is with me. But I don't know how.
After being asked many times to move back to 168 pounds for a Canelo fight, Benavidez has taken a firm stance. He still fights at 175 pounds. Since he feels he has earned his place, he says he will not go after what he calls a fantasy fight. He still has plenty of time to set up that fight, so he is now focused on opponents who really want to fight him.
Never happened at 168. I want to go back to 160. I'm good at 175. I'm world champion here. So if you want to come up to fight at 175, I'm all good with that. But right now, I can't live in this fantasy world where like, oh, maybe I'm going to get this fight, maybe this and that. I've done my job. I've done everything to get this fight. It's one of the biggest fights in boxing. If a person don't want to make it happen, I'm not going to waste my time trying to make a fight happen with a person that doesn't want to fight me. So I'm just trying to fight the people who are really trying to.
This isn't Benavidez's first concern, though. Anthony Yarde is due on November 22nd. Benavidez thinks there will be at least some strife, seeing that Yarde is putting everything he has into his 3rd attempt at a world title. Benavidez promises to face the intensity head-on with a show that will keep fans on the edge of their seats.
A lot of experience. This is his 3rd time at a world title, so I know he's going to leave it all on the line, November 22nd. But like I said, I like to go to war too. I'm not going to back down from him. He's not going to back down from me. So let's have some fun. November 22nd. Let's give the people what they want to see. But like I said, any shot can change the fight. So like I said, he wants to go to war. We're okay with that. Let's go.
Joe Rogan thinks a fight between Canelo and Crawford would be great, but Benavidez is still not sure. Rogan believes Crawford has the skills and understanding to beat Canelo. Even though they are not the same size, Rogan is thinking of a plan based on movement and quick entrances and exits that makes him think of Ray Leonard versus Marvin Hagler. Rogan says Canelo might be doomed because he likes to use big shots a lot these days.
Well, I'm a giant Crawford fan because I think he's the best switch hitter since Marvin Hagler. I also think Canelo is slowing down, and Canelo is more of a one-punch fighter now than the combination fighter he was when he was younger.
Do you think Terence Crawford can beat Canelo Alvarez?
Yeah, I think he can win.
Okay.
I don't know if he's going to win, but I think he can win. He's going to have to box a brilliant fight.
If Ray Leonard could beat Marvelous Marvin Hagler, then Terence Crawford can beat Canelo Alvarez. Why do you say that? Same equation. Get in, get out. Get in, get out.
Yeah.
Over and over and over. He's got to figure the angles and the approaches that will allow him to step in, land to the body, or occasionally upstairs.
Benavidez, on the other hand, is sure that Canelo and his group are not to be trusted. He says the whole gang is dirty and points out 5 past PED violations involving Alvarez's team. He asks Canelo, who is said to be a confident winner, why he keeps avoiding him, saying that the fact he has done this before speaks louder than any press release.
Himself, I don't know why he wouldn't fight me, especially since, seeing that everybody in his team is on steroids, which means including him, so he never got off
You think he's on steroids?
Of course. How does 5?
You saw De La Hoya
How do 5 people out of your camp get tested positive for steroids?
Right.
You know what I mean? No, all those fucking dudes.
Antonio Tarver agreed with Crawford that he is a real threat to Canelo, saying Crawford is a skilled boxer who is already mentally ready for the fight. Tarver praised Crawford's footwork and fight IQ, but he also said that in this case, skill and drive might be more important than strength. He also made it sound like Canelo would have to get back to his best in order to pass such a test.
Gotta be Terence, bro. He's a real deep thinker. He processed fights like nobody else. And he's processed this Canelo fight. He's seen it. He went through it 2 or 3 times already. He knows how this ends. You can tell the way he shadow boxes. He's visualizing Canelo being right there in front of him. You understand? Look at the movement. That's all you got to do. Look at the movement. And that's the type of master boxer that Canelo is going to be facing. And the only thing I say is Canelo hasn't faced an opponent like this in a long time. You know what I mean? I think Canelo's going to have to go to the Caleb Plant fight and look that good, that active, that, you feel me, moving with that type of grace to beat Terence Crawford. Because weight ain't gonna make the difference. It ain't gonna be the weight. It's gonna be the skill set. It's gonna be the skill set and how bad they want it. Because both of them gonna get.
Tarver also talked about Canelo's controversial claim that Crawford is better than Floyd Mayweather Jr., at least the Mayweather he faced. Tarver agreed that Mayweather was the smartest boxer in the world, even though Crawford is stronger. He made both boxers look like smart strategists, but he told people that it takes more than skill to beat Mayweather's reputation.
Biggest fight of the century. I can't wait, man. I can't wait.
Canelo said he feels that Crawford is actually better than Mayweather. What did you make of when he said that?
Now, when you look at, I don't know, bro. When you look at the time he's facing, like right now, he's facing Crawford. He may mean that this time Crawford may be better than the Floyd that he faced way back when. Now Floyd, when he fought Canelo, he was money made in. He wasn't our pretty boy Floyd. He was money made, so he was making the transition. I kind of get what he's saying. Now we can say this, Crawford, I think, has always been a better puncher than Mayweather. Punching wise, you feel me? Hurting people, knocking them out, getting them out of there. I think his power has always been a little better than Mayweather. But skill set, skill for skill is hard, bro. It's hard to go against Mayweather. A guy that processed boxing better than anybody. Like, that's one of the thinkers in the ring, like me. We were thinkers, bro. We processed that shit like this, bro. You feel me? Speed, power. I need one round to figure.
Benavidez, on the other hand, was also worried about the rumored super fight between Canelo and Terence Crawford. He warned that Crawford's quick switch between 3 weight classes could hurt him badly. He believes there is a reason for weight classes. Benavidez is also getting ready for his own fight against Anthony Yarde. He thinks Yarde will be tough, technical, and driven in a big fight.
Terence Crawford is coming up 3 weight classes. Yeah. I don't want to say that he doesn't have the ability to hurt him. He obviously does. He's really technically sound. He's a great fighter. But sometimes when 3 weight classes is different. It's like if I'd go up right now trying to fight Anthony Joshua or Gypsy King, you know what I mean? Like I believe I could win if I don't get hit, but if I get hit, you know what I mean, that you got to worry about that. So that's really just where I'm at with that. But I don't know, we'll see. You know, you never want to doubt Terence Crawford out, but you know, there's weight classes for a reason.
And lastly, Anthony Yarde, we mentioned how much is on the line for him. What are you expecting out of his game?
I'm expecting him to, be the best Anthony Yarde he is. You know, he's sharp. You know, he has good reflex. He has good defense. So this is why we took this fight, because he does a lot of stuff good, and that's what's gonna motivate me, to go in there, be on my P's and Q's, and make it a fight. At the end of the day, it looks like a juicy fight. It looks like he's not gonna back up.
Devin Haney adds another layer by saying Crawford is a tough opponent for Canelo because Alvarez is stronger and more experienced now than he was when he fought Mayweather. Haney thinks a Crawford win would be much more important than Floyd's win 10 years ago because of how much Canelo has changed since then. Boxing expert Jose Benavidez also gave his opinion. He said Crawford will use movement and avoid physical fights in order to go the distance and win by decision. He was also worried that a fight between Benavidez and Canelo would never happen until someone like Turki Alashik steps in to make the big fight happen.
A dairy fight there, I think Crawford's a great fighter, Canelo's a great fighter, but Crawford's going 2 divisions, and I don't think he's going to stay in front of Canelo. He's going to try to win the fight, win by points and move around and not stay in front of Canelo. If I was Terence Crawford, I would not stay in front of Canelo because he's the bigger man and the bigger puncher. So I think we know what Terence Crawford's good at, winning fights and moving around.
Absolutely. Now, do you think that David can get the winner? He'll finally face Canelo? You think that fight will ever happen?
I don't think that fight will happen, but if there was somebody who could make that fight, it would be His Excellency Turki Alashik, So, I don't think that fight.
Benavidez is still focused on his own legacy, but he has admitted there is more and more interest in a possible fight with Canelo, especially now that he has won the 175 pounds title. He says, though, that he would be happy with or without the fight. He knows Canelo is after him because of the new title, especially if Alvarez really wants to fight for fame. Benavidez is focused on his current goal for now, but he is ready to act if the time comes.
If I never get that fight, I'll be fine with it. I'm fine with it. Because I'm staying in my lane. I'm trying to fight. I'm trying to beat the other best in the world. But if that fight does happen, I'm going to be ready for it. And it's looking like it could happen. I have the belt at 175. Canelo says he only fights for greatness. He only fights for titles. That's what excites him. So now I got a title. You know what I mean? And I'm just going to keep winning these fights. And I'm not thinking about Canelo. But if it does happen, we're going to be ready.
And look, you're a big boxing fan. You know the sport as well as anybody as a top fighter. What are your thoughts on Canelo Alvarez against Terence Crawford?
I don't like it only because Terence Crawford is coming up 3 weight classes. Yeah. I don't want to say that he doesn't have the ability to hurt him. He obviously does.
Tony De La Hoya didn't hold back when he talked about Canelo and Crawford. He told Canelo he wasn't thankful and that his relationship with him was very personal. He also warned Crawford that being tired and tall in the late rounds could play a part. He did say, though, that both fighters were tough enough to keep the fight close and interesting. When asked who he would most like to fight to settle the problem for good, he said without hesitation,
Canelo, we have something very personal. And that's it. It's very personal. Ungrateful. That's all I can say. Ungrateful.
Are you picking him to beat Crawford?
It's a good fight. I think there's weight classes for a reason. Like every boxing expert should know, there's weight classes for a reason. Look, once the 5th, 6th rounds, pans out, is Crawford gonna feel the pressure? Is he gonna get tired? Because Canelo's gonna keep coming. I don't think Crawford has enough firepower to stop Canelo, but I don't think Canelo has enough ability to walk right through Crawford. Crawford is a very smart fighter. I like his chances, but again, there's weight classes for a reason.
Last one, this is a one-word answer. If you could settle any of these beefs we've talked about in the ring, who are you fighting?
Never one to back down, Terence Crawford strongly disagreed with what Oscar De La Hoya said. Crawford promised to put doubters to rest and make his mark on boxing history with a fight on September 13th. He told his fans that night, all of his greatness would be on full display.
Listen, I don't care what nobody else on the outside got to say. I can have dinner with you and then, you know, at dinner, you know, so it don't matter, you know, what De La Hoya say or anybody else, you know, I don't care.
Terence, what are the world gonna find out about Terence Crawford on September 13th?
Well, they're gonna find out how great I am. You know, I'm going in there to be great. I'm going in there to, you know, make history. So, you know, the world gonna find out all the questions that they've been asking. All the answers will be answered.
When people said bad things about his past opponents, Crawford replied that every opponent he has faced since moving up to 147 has been better than him. He warned people who disagreed with him that things would stay the same in the future.
They ain't on my level.
I fought everybody.
The last fighters you fought since 2002.
Mention me one. You mention me one elite fighter. Just one.
You.
Oh, me.
Look,
it's gonna
you.
be me.
I don't care about nobody else.
And you will see that.
You. So when I beat you, is you gonna be a nobody? When I stuff a mud hole in your ass, you gonna be a nobody. Same everybody else been saying since I moved to 147, I ain't fought nobody. Every last one of them stuff a mud hole in their ass and he gonna be.
He promised to destroy everyone who stood in his way and to give a firm answer to all questions.
I mean, it's Canelo has the big advantage, but Crawford needs to manage well his body, his speed, and his power, because he's moving up to another level of weight.
I asked this because you did it with Margarito. You went to 54, and people were like, "Oh my God, this guy's so big, Margarito!" But your speed made the difference in that fight. Well, what advice would you give a smaller guy like Crawford to fight someone like Canelo, who's a lot bigger and stronger?
You know, preparing like that opponents, like is not only the speed, but you know the techniques that you can use in the fight. Like make sure that in your daily routine, training routine, like the techniques, strategy, combination, like you know, it's accurate to your opponent's style. You know what I'm talking about? Like when you have a exam, a math exam tomorrow, you have to review right now a math subject. You don't need to review English subject or a science subject. You have to review math subject because tomorrow you're going to have a exam. You're going to exam a math subject. That's a hard.
Manny Pacquiao told Terence Crawford that he needs to control his body, speed, and power as he gains weight, while also pointing out that Canelo Alvarez is bigger. Pacquiao told smaller fighters to use strategies and accuracy that work best against their opponents.
I asked the great Larry Merchant, 94 years old, living on Ocean Boulevard in Santa Monica, looking out at the ocean, reflecting on all the amazing things he did. And I asked Larry, I said, do you think Terence Crawford has a chance to beat Canelo Alvarez? And Larry said, Jim, did Ray Leonard get an official decision victory over Marvelous Marvin Hagler? And I said, yes, he did. He said, well, if Ray Leonard could beat Marvelous Marvin Hagler, then Terence Crawford can beat Canelo Alvarez. I said, why do you say that? He said, same equation. Get in, get out. Get in, get out. Yeah. Over and over and over. He's got to figure the angles and the approaches that will allow him to step in, land to the body, or occasionally upstairs, and then get out before he's facing any damage.
Right.
That's what Ray did so effectively against Hagler, and it frustrated Hagler. And the more you frustrate the...
Referencing his own win over the bigger Antonio Margarito, he stressed how important it was to focus on specific areas of study, like learning only math for a test the next day.
Punch resistance in the sport. You know, we talked about it earlier. One knockout in the whole career.
Knockdown.
And it wasn't a knockdown. And it wasn't really a knockdown in my personal view. So, because he didn't touch the canvas. He's never been on the canvas. And we call it chin. And I think that we kind of missed the point by calling it chin. Because I used to be Canelo's neighbor in Del Mar, California. Chepo, his senior trainer at the grocery store. I'd look into the cart and say, oh, he's eating tuna. And he said, yes. And he's eating chicken, da-da-da. And so I also used to go down the hill from my house off of Via della Valle in Del Mar and watch him train at the Equestrian Center. where he would go to the equestrian center in the morning and do 2.5 hours of hunter jumper riding before going to his gym in the afternoon to do 3.5 hours of buck